Hi everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. I hope things are well with you. Today I have a ginormous book haul. There are so many exciting books in this book pile. I have read a few of these already, so you will be hearing more about them when I do my March wrap-up, which will be next week. There's like about a gazillion books to talk about. Some of them were gifted to me and some I've been waiting a while to get for various reasons. And I'm also really excited about a 2-night event with Neil Gaiman and some newly published editions of his books that I received, and I will tell you more about that at the end. So let's get started. First up are a number of books that I've been waiting for the paperback editions. Deacon King Kong by James McBride has some interesting hype, and it sounds like a captivating read. The story takes place in 1969 in Brooklyn, and it is about a shooting. A church deacon goes out into the projects and shoots a 19-year-old drug dealer in front of everyone. And that sounded to me like it might have a bit of a Time to Kill by John Grisham kind of vibe. So Deacon King Kong goes into the details about how all of the people have been affected by this shooting. Next is a horror novel, The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. And this has also had some interesting hype, and I'm just going to read the blurb for you because I'm not sure I can say too much more about this right now anyway. The story follows 4 American Indian men after a disturbing event from their youth that puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. They are tracked by an entity bent on revenge. These childhood friends are helpless as the culture and traditions they left behind catch up to them in a violent and vengeful way. The Harpy by English author Megan Hunter is kind of a dark atmosphere book as well. It's a shorter novel, and if we can just take a minute to admire this cover, it's the first thing that drew me to this novel, and I think it's beautiful. The story is about a couple, Lucy and Jake, who have 2 children. Lucy works from home, and on one very normal day, the telephone rings and a man tells her that Jake is having an affair with his wife. So Lucy and Jake come to an agreement that Lucy can hurt Jake 3 times. He won't know how or when this will happen, but they believe it will even the score between them, and then they can carry on. This next book is one that I've heard so much about. Love After Love by Ingrid Persaud, or Persaud, I'm not sure how she pronounces it. This story takes place in Trinidad. Betty Ramdin invites a colleague of hers to move in with her and her son Solo after her husband dies, and the 3 of them become a family, but their perfect knit family is shattered when Solo overhears his mother sharing a secret. And this has been getting some rave reviews, and I'm so excited to read it. Next up is a book that I've mentioned a few times now, and each time I say I'm waiting for the paperback edition, and it's finally here. The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates. This is a nonfiction book, or maybe even a memoir, about how Melinda Gates realized the link between empowering women and healthy societies. And she shares conversations she's had with women from all over the world, and ways that we can make a difference for women to have opportunities. And I have just started this one, and so far I'm enjoying it, so hopefully that continues. Another book that I've been waiting for in paperback is this beauty, The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Phan May. I hope I am saying that correctly as well. This is a historical novel about some of Vietnam's history, the Vietnam War, and how the Tran family made sacrifices and survived. There are 2 different timelines. Tran Du Lan's story begins in 1930, and then her granddaughter Huang in the 1970s. And this is one of the books that I will talk more about next week in the March wrap-up. The next book is not a book that I would have normally picked up on my own. You will even notice just from the cover that it's not my usual type of book. However, I have also said that I was hoping to read more romance this year. So when the authors of Revolutionary Kiss reached out to me to review their book, I said yes. It is definitely outside my comfort zone, but I'm willing to give it a shot. So Revolutionary Kiss is a love story set against the French Revolution. The authors are Mary Janelle Melvin and Kate Evans, and they go by Mary Kate Summers. And this is the blurb. Nicole Vogel is a gifted millinery apprentice by day and a street revolutionary by night. She's scarred by her childhood in an orphanage and believes those who love you leave you. She's determined to find financial independence and hopes to become part of the fabric of a more just society when she meets Luc Chatillon, the only son of a wealthy family that breeds thoroughbreds for the royal stables. Luc, a man of passion for the truth, is a free thinker caught in the moors of his wealthy father's world of arranged marriages and conventional mistresses. Luc finds himself trapped between duty and a longing for something more noble. Cynical about love and marriage, he finds himself inexplicably drawn to Nicole's ferocity and purpose. As their passion intensifies, secrets from Nicole's past emerge, which could send her to the guillotine. She must decide if she can truly depend on Luc, as dangerous intrigues threaten to destroy her and those she loves. So this is one that I'm hoping to read in April, so hopefully you'll hear my review of this one soon. Next up is a non-fiction self-help book called Slay Like a Mother, How to Destroy What's Holding You Back So You Can Live the Life You Want to, or the Life You Want, by Katherine Wintsch. When I was asked to review this book, I was leery because I thought it was just for mothers, but I said yes for 3 reasons. One, I think being a parent, and especially a mother, is the hardest job in the world. 2, I know many mothers, and if this will help me understand, some things, and maybe it will also help me support them better as well. And 3, I think that although the book talks about motherhood, it also talks about womanhood and women supporting women in their struggles, and to be more confident and to succeed is something that I can definitely get behind. So I also hope to read this in April as well, and I'll let you know what I think of it. The next novel is a psychological thriller that Christine, who follows this channel, sent me. Sometimes I Lie is by Alice Feeney, and I have been hearing a lot about this author but have not read anything by her yet, and the blurb for this one has me very intrigued. It says, Amber Reynolds wakes up in a hospital. She can't move, she can't speak, she can't open her eyes. She can hear everyone around her, but they have no idea. Amber doesn't remember what happened to her, but she has a sneaking suspicion her husband had something to do with it, or her sister, or maybe both. Terrified and trapped inside her own body, she slowly begins to remember a night that changed her life. Is she in a coma due to an accident? Is her sister having an affair with her husband? What happened at work with her horrible boss? And who is the person who is silently visiting her bedside each night? Sometimes I Lie is a brilliant psychological thriller that asks, is something really a lie if you believe it's the truth? So thanks again to Christine for sending this, and I can't wait to read it. The next book was a spontaneous but super fun buy. My birthday was a couple weeks ago, and I decided to go browsing at Chapters here in town. And the people that work there are so wonderful. I want to give a shout out to Jordan, Amanda, and Mike at the Chapters at Fairview Mall. They all made my day, and it is Mike who told me about Blindness by Jose Saramago, I think is his last name. And this is translated by Giovanni Pontiero. And as Mike was telling me this story, I said, I think I need to read that. So he brought me to the last copy on the shelf, and it has this very cool cover, and I can't wait to read it. Here's the quick little summary. A city is hit by an epidemic of white blindness, which spares no one. Authorities confine the blind to an empty mental hospital, but there the criminal elements holds everyone captive, stealing food rations and assaulting women. There is one eyewitness to this nightmare who guides 7 strangers, among them a boy with no mother, a girl with dark glasses, a dog of tears, through the barren streets, and the procession becomes as uncanny as the surroundings are harrowing. A magnificent parable of loss and disorientation and a vivid evocation of the horrors of the 20th century. Blindness is a powerful portrayal of man's worst appetites and weaknesses, and man's ultimately exhilarating spirit. One of the books that I talked about in last week's videos, in the books to read in April, was Cold New Climate by Isobel Wohl. I received this from the Republic of Consciousness, which is a really cool prize for small presses in the UK and Ireland, I think. This is the first publication from a brand new press in the UK called Weatherglass Books, and I'm happy to support them as they begin this publishing adventure and all of the work that is being done through Republic of Consciousness. Luster is by Raven Leilani, and this novel is getting a lot of hype as well. I've seen some mixed reviews, so I'm looking forward to checking it out and seeing what I think about it. It's a debut fiction novel, and I've heard it also described as a dark comedy. It's about a young Black woman who gets involved in a relationship with a white married man and his wife, and then she also becomes someone that their daughter looks up to. So the relationship dynamics just in and of itself kind of already hint at some tension, and my guess is that there will be themes about racism and sexism. Then there's Migrations by Charlotte McConaghy, that has been quietly going about its business and getting rave reviews all over the place. And this is a story about Franny Stone, who is a researcher and finds herself in Greenland attempting to follow the last Arctic terns in the world as they migrate to Antarctica. And then out on the fishing boat, Franny finds out that you can't run from your life and that she must face her past and seek redemption. Angie Thomas is the author of Concrete Rose, which is the prequel to The Hate U Give, which I read last year. Concrete Rose takes place 17 years before The Hate U Give, and it tells the story of 17-year-old Maverick Carter. Maverick's father is in prison and is a former gang legend. Maverick is dealing for the King Lords to make money in order to help his mother out. So things are going great, and then he finds out that he's a father. His little girl, 7, makes him think differently about the choices that he's making, and he takes an opportunity to go straight, but it won't be easy. And I really enjoyed The Hate U Give, and I loved 7, so I'm really looking forward to, getting some more of the story and some of the background in this book. Okay, auto by author alert. I have 2 of those on this list. So first up is Mary Lawson and her new novel, A Town Called Solace. I have loved all of Mary Lawson's books, and I'm hoping to add this one to the list. This story takes place in Northern Ontario in the early 1970s. Clara is 7 years old, and her older sister Rose has just run away from home. Liam is their new neighbor who has inherited the house next door from Mrs. Orchard, who he hasn't seen since he was 5, and Mrs. Orchard is in the hospital on her deathbed. All of these characters are somehow intertwined, and, I would bet that Mary Lawson has weaved their lives together beautifully. The second auto by author for me is Lisa Genova, and her new nonfiction novel, Remember, The Science of Memory and the Art of Forgetting. And again, I have loved everything Lisa Genova has written. And I'm really excited to be reading her first nonfiction, which is about a topic that she is so passionate about. Okay, I'm starting to see near the end, so we're getting near the bottom of this pile. Next is a historical fiction novel, We Came Here to Shine by Susie Orman Schmall. Am I holding this up properly? Yes. I've never read this author before, and at first I thought that she was the financial guru, Susie Orman. Anyway, so this book got my attention because it takes place in New York at the World's Fair in 1939, and it is about two women who, one wants to be an actress and the other one wants to be a journalist. And when the two of them meet, they become best of friends, and they support one another through, the ups and downs during basically the best summer of their lives. So this just sounds fun to me, and I like the setting, and I love books about female friendship. So I have high expectations and hopes for this one. Next is another debut novel getting really good reviews. A Woman Is No Man by Itaf Rum. The synopsis for this sounds really good, and so far I have only heard people talk about it in positive ways. This story takes place in Palestine in 1990. It says 17-year-old Isra prefers reading books to entertaining the suitors her father has chosen for her. Her desires are irrelevant, however. Over the course of a week, the naive and dreamy girl finds herself betrothed, then married, and soon living in Brooklyn. There Isra struggles to adapt to the expectations of her oppressive mother-in-law and her strange new husband, Adam, a pressure that intensifies as she begins to have children, 4 daughters instead of the sons Isra is expected to bear. And then in Brooklyn in 2008, at her grandmother's insistence, 18-year-old Dea must meet with potential husbands. Though her only desire is to go to college, her grandmother is firm on the matter, however. The only way to secure a worthy future for Dea is through marriage to the right man. But fate has a will of its own, and soon Dea will find herself on an unexpected path that leads her to shocking truths that will force her to question everything she thought she knew about her family, the past, and her future. Homegoing by Ya Gyasi has also been everywhere, and the reviews have been fantastic. This story takes place in Ghana in the 18th century, and it is about 2 half-sisters, Effia and Essie. Effia is married to an Englishman and lives in a castle, while her half-sister Essie is imprisoned in the castle's dungeons. The story follows Effia's descendants into warfare in Ghana, and it also follows Essie as she is sold into slavery in America, where her children and grandchildren will be raised into slavery. I am waiting for the time to read this when I can really relish in its language and story. Book of Wings by Thaida Tanya Evanson has had not as much attention as the others. It's a brief book, maybe even a novella. The summary says this: in this sweeping, elusive novel, the celebrated poet, dervish, and oral storyteller Thaida Tanya Evanson comes to terms with what it means to stand on one's own 2 feet in an uncertain world. The acclaimed Antiguan Canadian artist traces a global journey from Vancouver to the United States to the Caribbean, France, and Morocco as a relationship with her lover and travel partner disintegrates. Traveling deeper into the North African landscape, she finds herself on a path toward personal discovery and spiritual fulfillment. The next book has had so much love on Instagram, and I'm hoping to get to this one soon. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is a historical fiction novel. Monique Grant is a magazine reporter, and her life is not going all that great. Her husband has left her, and her job is at a standstill. And then Monique gets asked to tell the story of Hollywood movie icon Evelyn Hugo. And as she listens to Evelyn tell her story, she realizes that they may be more connected than she originally thought. Another book that I find very intriguing is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Japanese author Toshikazu Kawaguchi, and this is translated by Jeffrey Trouselot. This story takes place in a cafe in Tokyo where customers are given the opportunity to travel back in time. There are several rules and, of course, a lot of risk. And then next is a collection of short stories called Modern Times by Kathy Sweeney. This is what my cover looks like, but I'm going to put up a picture of what the original cover looks like because that's what first got my attention. My mother is actually currently reading this aloud to me, and we are about 25% into it. And so far, all I can say is that these are some strange and wacky stories. I definitely like some better than others. And so far, none of them have really wowed me, but we still have a ways to go. So we'll see how it ends up. The Children's Act by Ian McEwan is a book that I will be reading after seeing the movie, which is not usually how I like to do things, but I didn't realize the movie was based on a book when we watched it on Netflix. So this is a story that takes place in London. The main character is Fiona, who is a high court judge in family court, which is ironic. Jack, her husband, loves Fiona, but neither of them are happy in their marriage. Fiona is in love with her work and Jack wants more from her. So I really enjoyed this movie, and I'm hoping that the book is even better than the movie, as they usually are. And finally, if you are a Neil Gaiman fan, then you might be interested in a 2-night, or for me it's a 2-afternoon event, that Fane Online is doing with Neil. On March 29th, he is talking about American Gods and Anansi Boys. And he will be talking, the next day, April the 9th, he will be talking about Neverwhere and Stardust and Ocean at the End of the Lane, which I will show you in a second. So you can do both events or one of the events for a minimal cost, and there is the opportunity to get the 5 books that are new editions of these from Headline. And they are beautiful. I will show you each of them here. I've always wanted to read Neil Gaiman, and this has given me the opportunity to maybe finally do that. So I will make sure that I put information in the description box below so that you can have a look and see if that's something you want to do as well. So as always, I will leave a list of all of the books I mentioned in this video in the description box, as well as the Neil Gaiman information, and I'll leave that link. Excuse me, please let me know in the comments if you have read any books on this list or if there are any that interest you. Let me know if we will maybe be at the Neil Gaiman event together. Please tell me about what books you're looking forward to, what you've received recently, what books you're hoping to get to in the next few weeks. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.